Chapter 2 For the sake of world nuclear peace, it's quite reasonable, isn't it? Congratulations to the host for receiving the first stage mission reward, the Italian Dignitary Protection Team. This is a well-trained and well-equipped world-class special forces unit to protect government dignitaries and visiting heads of state and VIPs of other countries, known as the Dignitary Protectors on the FK front. Implanted identity as a security officer who saw the host's recruitment message and came to apply for the job. The host can contact and talk to him at any time, and the character will readily agree to the host's solicitation and will never do anything to betray the host. NOCS? When Chu Zihong saw the 6 figures on the virtual screen, he instantly shifted from surprise to surprise, and to think that he was that lucky, actually obtaining the Italian Dignitary Protection Team. As the system said, this was a well-trained, world-class special forces unit. Proficient in karate, tactical combat training, mastery of high jump, low open, halo, parachute jumping techniques, and so on. Can be said to be the most professional protection personnel in the special forces. Many dignitaries to foreign visits have their figure, though not the Task Force 141 one would hope for. But NOCS is also very bullish. It could completely satisfy the needs of one's current company. In terms of security, absolutely professional. So at this point, Chu Zihong was still contented. After all, the first simple mission down the road, one could definitely obtain the 141st contingent. Just at this moment, the door of the office was knocked on, instantly causing Chu Zihong to look back, only to see the blonde, blue-eyed, sexy female secretary and lover Alice standing playfully at the door and said, "Boss, there are 6 applicants who have seen our company's recruitment information and have come to apply for security personnel. So fast? Worthy of being produced by the system." Chu Zihong immediately said, "Quickly, let them come in." He couldn't care less about looking at his predecessor's lover. How can a man facing a desperate situation be entangled by beauty? Engaging in the cause is important. Soon, 6 white strong men who were close to 2 meters tall and wearing straight black suits came in. Just by looking at this height, it gives people a sense of security. Worthy of being produced by the system, it was bullish. Chu Zihong walked to the front of the leading white big man, and after taking a glance back and forth, asked, "What's your name?" "Boss, my name is Victor." "Victor, from today you are the head of our Umbrella Corporation's security department." "Yes, boss." Victor looked respectful and said. Chu Zihong smiled with satisfaction, then turned his head to the female secretary and ordered, "Alice, take Victor and the others down to register and sign the contract." "Okay, darling." Although Alice was a bit surprised why these people joined the company so readily without asking about the benefits and whatnot. But her beloved boss ordered her, so she could only do as she was told. Nightfall. On the outskirts of Tiago City, Chu's Manor. The entire manor covered an area of 7,140 square meters, roughly as big as a standard soccer field. When entering this manor, Chu Zihong was also quite shocked. In the late 80s, for a family of Chinese descent to be able to have such a huge manor in Sam's country, where skin color divergence was serious, it showed that the Chu family really did have a couple of tricks up their sleeves. Although it had fallen. But Chu Zihong believed that the entire Chu family would rise again within their own hands, even surpassing their former peak. The vast manor was dark and lifeless. Chu Zihong did not see any of the servants. After searching through the original owner's memories, it dawned on him. The Chu family's decline where there was still money to pay the servants. All the servants had been dismissed by the original owner. The large manor with no one to take care of it looked empty, almost no different from a ghost mansion. Chu Zihong turned his head and said to Victor and the others who were following him, "Victor, you guys can stay here." "Yes, boss." Victor nodded with a respectful expression, sending a few people away. Chu Zihong sat on the soft sofa in the living room and tried to actively communicate with the system in his mind. As a result, he communicated for half a day. The system, high and cold, did not say a word, a typical toolman system of the nature of releasing tasks. However, from what the system said before, it was to build itself into the world's strongest military contractor. This is to make oneself a military resource company like MPRI, Blackwater, CSA, Cossack, CACI, etc., also known as PMCs, professional mercenaries. Powerful PMC companies, similar to the above, several military resource companies have more or less official backgrounds behind them. Whether it is the previous life or in this parallel world now, they can intervene on regional wars. Mercenaries licked blood with their knives, and wherever there was a war, there was a PMC's figure. If one were to become the strongest military contractor, one would inevitably have to steal business from these veteran companies and become a competitor. The danger was so great that it was like walking on the tip of a knife. But simply becoming a military contractor was a bit too boring and wouldn't earn a few dollars. Since he wanted to be the strongest military contractor, the arms business was bound to be involved as well. This industry, too, is profiteering. And mercenaries also need weapons and equipment. Doesn't it smell good to be self-sufficient yourself? Plus, being reborn in the late 1980s of the 20th century, this time is still in the Cold War. And the Cold War created the largest arsenal of weapons on the planet. No one was able to keep a steady head in the face of huge benefits. Especially a year later, the Soviet Union, one of the two super empires, collapsed with a bang, and those piles of weaponry in the weapons warehouse were their own mountains of gold. On top of that, the world landscape will undergo a sea change. From bipolarization, it will move towards a superpower. And without the constraints of the Soviet Union, Sam's country, which jumped to become the world's leader, is waging wars everywhere in order to make profits. Localized wars are constantly going on. The arms business is undoubtedly the best. Because human beings can never leave violence, its nature, the original human remains have a spear arrow in their rib cavity. When the time comes to do both on your own, you need people and you need equipment. What strongest military contractor? Labor will become the king of war. Chu Zihong's eyes glittered. Harboring in the district of Sam's country to do farta? A good man should aspire to be in all directions. With a plan. Chu Zihong's goal is very clear. Become the king of war. However, at present, we still want to find a way to solve the problem of startup capital, as well as the problem of loan sharks. Also at this time, the system prompt suddenly sounded, triggered the first stage of the main mission. Successfully sell a single order of arms. The quantity cannot be less than 200. Mission completed, randomly rewarded with 1 firearms manufacturing drawing, tactical grade special forces squad, and 1 random lottery draw. The system that had communicated for half a day with no response suddenly rang with a prompt. This made Chu Zihong speechless while at the same time quickly perked up. It was because the reward for mission completion was simply a blessing in disguise. A qualified arms dealer. Of course, it was to have an industry chain that belonged to one's own, rather than becoming a second-hand dealer. For example, now the world's major arms dealers Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, General Dynamics, Grumman, Dassault, Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, and so on. Especially Lockheed Martin, Raytheon proper arms giants, Sam's country's main weapons suppliers. Reach their oligarchic scale, a word can influence Sam's high-level decision-making. Can be said that the power of the sky. As for arms trafficking violates international law? Oh, the world's largest arms dealer is Sam's state itself. To say that it violates the law is only to say that they are both a whore and a brand. As long as they have nuclear weapons, you can even point your finger at the Secretary General of the UNHG and say, then you can say to the rest of the world, sorry, I'm just doing it for the sake of nuclear peace in the world.